So we come to the last storyteller of the night. That's me. When we, yeah.
Come on, give it.
And when we decided on You're the Voice in honour of John Barnum's concert in Gosford later this month, I was thinking of, other iconic voices besides John's, and I was thinking of fairy tale voices, and I thought of Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Which is?
Snow White.
Snow White, right, yeah. Points to you. And I thought of, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. Excellent. Tidy up. And then I thought of the biggest fairy tale voice. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Yes, Jack and the Beanstalk. And I was researching Jack and the Beanstalk, and it's actually an Australian story. It was recorded in Australia in 1860 by Joseph Jacobs. So, Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, once upon a time, way back beyond the black stump, there lived a young lad named Jack and his mother. And they lived a simple life. They had a veggie patch and chickens and a cow and his mum's single mother pension. So they lived quite happily for some time, but then they fell on terrible times.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. It was terrible times ever since the national broadband system had gone through. So this is where you have to join in, because I'll say, because the NBN is, and you'll have to say shit, okay? So they all fell on tough times because the NBN had gone through, and we all know that the NBN is shit. You see, Centrelink had cut off her pension because they had no email access, they had no telephone anymore, and the local Centrelink office had moved all the way to the city. So there was no way to contact them to get it reinstated, and so there was nothing else to do but sell the cow. And so Jack told his mum he'd take the cow and off he set down the road one morning, and as he walked down that long, hot, dusty highway, he came across a strange old bloke. And the bloke said, "Where are you going with the cow?" And you know the story. Jack said, "I'm selling the cow." And the guy said, "I'll buy it for magic beans." That's right. And so Jack did the swap and went home with the magic beans. And of course his mother was furious. She threw those beans straight out the window and sent Jack to bed without any supper. And something strange happened that night. Those beans began to sprout, and they began to grow unnaturally fast. It was like they were genetically modified. Anyway, Jack awoke to this enormous beanstalk in the front yard the next morning, and Jack might have been one of the chronically underemployed youth, but he did have gumption, and so he chucked on his thongs and he ran outside. And then he remembered in that pre-coffee morning haze that the bloke had said something about giants and treasure. Well, Jack, as I said, had gumption, so he grabbed hold of the beanstalk, placed one. There appeared a man, and he had a hard hat on. "What do you think you're doing there, son? You're not climbing that beanstalk in those thongs. Where's your bloody safety equipment? And have you done a risk assessment? And have you got insurance? And no, mate, you're not climbing that with those thongs on. And have you done your working with height certificate, son?" Well, Jack had gumption, but he had none of the legal requirements. Then he remembered that his long-lost father had a shed in the backyard. And his father had been a woodsman before he had disappeared into the woods, never to be seen again, and never had to have paid a cent of child support either. So Jack did have the safety equipment required, and he thought the risk assessment was a little harder because he didn't understand, well, well, how many ways can a giant kill somebody? And well, the working at height certificate was online. So he couldn't do that because the NBN is shit! But he did have gumption, and so late at night when the safety officer had gone home, Jack chucked on the thongs and he climbed out, and he climbed. And he climbed and he climbed, and 12 hours later he was coming back down, and under his arm he had the the goose that laid golden eggs. And he jumped off that, he landed on the ground, and poof, there appeared another man. Customs. Where do you think you're going with that goose, son? He says, I just got it from I don't care where you got it from, you're not bringing that in here. And well, Jack, he could read the writing on the wall. No organic matter. So he tried to slip those goose eggs into his pocket without being seen. So what do you got there in your pockets? Are those eggs from this here aforementioned illegal goose? Well, if they are, I'll have to confiscate those. And now that you've seen that you're hiding things, I think we're going to have to take you out back for a full cavity search, sir. Thank you. So, well, it took Jack a few days to recover from that one, but he did have gumption. So late the next night, he climbed up that beanstalk again, and this time he made it down with that
golden harp.
Yes! Yeah. On one side, she was a beautiful, shapely woman. On the other side, she was an enormous harp. Yes, the singing harp. She sang like an angel, and Jack's thongs hit the ground, and poof! Magically, there appeared a glass cubicle desk with a man. Passports and visas, please. Passports and visas. Well, fortunately, Jack always carried his passport on him. Unfortunately, it could not be said for the singing harp. I just got it from the giant's place. Look, son, I don't care where you got it from. She's not coming in here if she doesn't have the appropriate paperwork. But I stole it from the giant. Oh, you're trying to tell me that you've stolen a woman from another country and you're trying to bring her in as an illegal immigrant, sir? And he goes, no, you don't understand, sir. I'm sorry, if she doesn't have the appropriate paperwork, she's not coming in. Well, that's when the singing harp, who sang like an angel, got really mouthy, and she started swearing like an absolute trooper, and immigration officers descended from everywhere and dragged her off to detention. Well, just when Jack didn't think things could get worse, the ground trembled, the beanstalk shook, and he heard that voice. Fee, fi, fo, fum. And he looked up, and sure enough, there was the giant climbing down the beanstalk. Well, it got closer. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Fee, fi, fo, fum. But Jack had gumption, and he remembered his dad's chainsaw, so he ran to the shed, he got the chainsaw, he came back, he revved it. Poof! The safety officer appeared again. Excuse me, lad. Don't think you're using that chainsaw in thongs, do you? And have you done the appropriate paperwork and have you done your working with chainsaw certificate? And Jack said, but there's a giant coming along, son, I don't care. You're not cutting it down with thongs on and without the paperwork. And he said, well, if I do the paperwork and get my dad's steel cap, can I cut it down? Yes. If you do the paperwork, put the steel caps on, cordon off the area, you can cut it down. And then poof! Then another man appeared. Who said, no one's cutting this down. I'm the local environmental officer, and nobody's cutting down a tree without council permission. Excuse me, young man, have you got permission to cut down this tree? It's not a tree, it's a beanstalk. I don't care, son. You're not cutting it down if you haven't applied for permission from the council. But there's a giant coming down. Look, son, we'll decide if this this tree's got a giant problem or not. And if it's got a giant problem, well, that may warrant its removal, but we will have to discuss that first. So no, son, you're not cutting it down. Well, the fee-fi-fo was getting louder and louder, and the giant's shadow fell on all of them. And Jack looked around for somewhere to hide, and there he saw it. The big open ditch left by the NBN technicians. Because the NBN is shit! So Jack dove into the trench just in time as the giant boom, beep, five, four, five. All together now. Beep, five, four, five. And then it fell silent. And Jack wondered what the hell was going on, and he looked, and he could see the bureaucrats surround the giant, and they started chanting, fees, fines, forms, funds, fees, fines, forms, funds, fees, fines, forms, funds. Have you got a certificate to be climbing up and down that beanstalk? And you're not doing that in bare feet. Have you got your passport and visa and your entry card on you, sir? And, oh my goodness, you just can't do it without safety equipment. And I've just slapped a heritage listing on this beanstalk, so nobody's allowed to climb and without council permission. Well, as Jack watched, they wrapped that giant up in red tape. And they took him away. Now, how does this story end, I hear you ask?
How does it end? Tell us.
Well, once the bureaucrats sat down and talked to the giant, they found out that he was actually a multinational giant with beanstalks in many, many countries. So then they just gave him the gold pass to everything. They gave him the gold pass to farming, to mining, to telecommunications, and the media. And the golden goose, you want to know what happened to the golden goose? Well, that's still in quarantine because nobody gets past customs. Not a giant, not Johnny Depp, nobody gets past customs. And the singing harp, well,
On the voice.
she had friends in high places, so the giant pulled a few strings and he whipped her out of detention straight onto television.
Bachelorette?
No, almost. I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And Jack had gumption. He knew people would want to hear the story about the giant and about the heritage listed beanstalk growing in his front yard. So he opened an Airbnb. Unfortunately, nobody ever heard the story or heard about his Airbnb because, my friends, the NBN is shit! So, thank you. Let's have a round of applause for all of our storytellers and our choir.
And keep it going for Lindy for such a great story to finish our night on.